Transformers The Last Knight might be possibly the worst movie I have ever seen that has any budget. It feels like the higher-ups at Hasbro called up Michael Bay like the day before they started shooting, and he had no script, no ideas, just no nothing, and he showed up and just pulled a movie out of his ass. There's nothing enjoyable about this. There's no good shots like the others. The CG looks weird. It's long. It's boring. I was bored the whole time. This is the first movie that I've reviewed so far that I legitimately needed breaks during watching. It took me 4 tries to watch the movie entirety. It's as long as the other ones. It's still 2.5 hours. But this movie felt like it was 12 hours long. But there's still one thing that I need to talk about. So, if you don't know what the aspect ratio in films are, let me enlighten you. You see the black bars at the top and bottom of the screen. So basically, just to sum it up, a wider aspect ratio lets you see more of the screen. It's typically done more in action movies, so you can see more of the action. That makes sense. But in this movie, it changes, and that isn't a bad thing. Like, even in great movies, like The Dark Knight, I just rewatched it, and I just had to talk about it. Great movie. I love it. But Nolan changes the aspect ratio sometimes throughout the movie. Like, through the hospital scene, the aspect ratio changes. It's a wider aspect ratio. You can see more of the beautiful practical effects in that movie. Again, love that movie. But in this, it changes, like, a lot. Look at this scene. This is unedited by me. For some context, this happens later in the movie during the big action fight, and it happens a whole lot more during the movie, where it changes 9 times in 15 seconds. Now, just imagine this, but for like regular dialogue scenes. Just like random scenes, it'll just change. And it's like, why? Why does this happen? This is the most annoying fucking thing I've ever seen in any movie, and I've never seen it like this. Like, back to The Dark Knight, when people are talking, when dialogue is being spoken, it is a tighter aspect ratio, and it makes you, like, to me, it makes you feel like a character in the scene. Like, you could see, you don't need to see extra shit. But in The Last Knight, Michael Bay was like, hey, we have 15 cameras, let's just use them all, and use all of the footage. Look at this scene between Mark Wahlberg and this nothing character that is introduced in the middle. Look, like, they're just talking. There's nothing else taking place during this scene. They're just dialogue. It's really bad, and it changes so often, where I get a headache watching this film, and I'm like, why does this happen? It just shows the level of incompetence that is taking place. I don't get it. Michael Bay made 4 movies that were, like, decently shot. The camera work was pretty alright. And then you get this. It's like someone entirely different made this movie. So that was the rant about the aspect ratio. And now there's legitimately nothing else to talk about. So I guess let's just watch the movie. The movie begins with the best retcon to date. So it starts off in the olden days with King Arthur and his knights. And I was at this point in the theater when I turned to my dad and I asked if we were in the correct movie. And unfortunately we were. But anyway, so King Arthur and the boys are getting their asses kicked in this battle. And they're waiting for Merlin to show up because he's late for some reason. What is that reason? Oh, to talk to this fucking guy. Yes, the Transformers were here during King Arthur time. So not only were the Transformers here, but King Arthur and Merlin and the Knights also existed. Anyway, something dumb about his staff, and the big robot guy turns into a fucking dragon and wins them the battle. Then we see Optimus just chilling in space for some reason, and then we get the title card. The first instance of laziness. You see, in the other movies, they had like the title card, it would like transform into the title, and in this one it just pops up so we can see where this movie will be headed. After that great opening, we then get what might be the most random order of scenes I've ever seen. Giant metal horn, Cade getting into truck, robots fighting, government people, Agent Simmons cameo, then weird science guy looking scared. Then the real movie starts. We now meet new important characters. Kids, yes, the best. The Game Shakers are being shitheads and definitely doing something they aren't supposed to do by looking into robot shit because the Transformers are outlawed? Like, for real this time, I guess, at this point? But they see some green guy, and oh no, guns! The movie wants you to believe that some gamer girl is here to save the kids, but really, she doesn't do anything. Really bad dialogue happens, and we meet her Transformer friend, who instantly dies. The movie wants this to be a very emotional scene between two characters we just met 10 seconds ago, but oh no, here comes Cade Yeager out of literal fucking nowhere to save the day. Once getting the kids out, he goes back to the green guy to save him, I guess. I don't know. But then he gives him some, like, talisman thing, and then the military guys come and try to arrest Cade. Bumblebee comes and they blow him up. But just kidding, no they don't, because he can just rebuild himself. For some reason, the scene ends. This is stupid because now Bumblebee can't die, I guess, in the movie, because he can just rebuild himself. So it kind of takes any tension out of the final scene at all, and in the entire movie, because Bumblebee can't die, so then it's, like, pointless. We then cut to Linux, and the military guy from the other ones, talking about the green guy that Cade found. Apparently he is important, but it is really stupid. So the government wants Merlin's staff, I don't know why, but they want to team up with Megatron to get it. This is when the pacing gets fucking wild. We cut to Optimus at Cybertron. He meets this lady and says some dumb stuff about her knights, and then brainwashes Optimus, as we can tell because of the red strip on his face. Then we cut to England. We meet C-3PO and this guy. Then people playing polo, then some lady teaching, back to the old guy, back to Optimus, and exposition. Then back to Cade. What is happening? Well, I'll tell you, kind of, I guess. Something with Merlin and the Transformers Knights betrayed the lady robot. It gets very stupid, and I'm excited to tell you why, but not yet. So then we get a scene that is nearly 6 minutes long, where quite literally, if you cut it out, nothing in the movie would change. And this is the main fucking problem with the movie. It is so boring, and if I pointed it out every time, we'd be here for 6 days. The pacing is terrible. It's just so bad. My mind is dumb from this movie. I have lost 17 IQ points just watching this and talking about this. Holy shit. There's nothing in this scene that happens. We go to the science guy for like 10 seconds. He said something bad's gonna happen. More pointless shit happens. This is just filler. It's just filler to make it 2.5 hours long. Why does the movie need to be 2.5 hours long? It doesn't make any sense. Guess what happens next? If you guessed the Suicide Squad intro to the new characters, then I guess you guessed right, but why would you guess that? Yes, that is a sentence that I just said in a Transformers review, but let's continue. The military wants Megatron's help. I guess that couldn't go wrong. Back to the dump, where nothing happens again. For the third time in the first 40 minutes. After this, we get a pretty stupid chase scene where everyone ends up in, like, an abandoned town for some reason. And it was at this point where I was so bored I had to turn the movie off. For the first time, not the last time. They fight the Decepticons where most of them were just introduced and also die 10 seconds into meeting them. At the end of the fight, C-3PO comes and takes Cade to England, and all of the characters we just met in the first half just don't appear until the end. So that was really pointless. Back to Optimus. Oh, never mind. So now we're in England. We meet Vivian for the first time. We get really bad dialogue and a flashback that happens quite randomly. Oh, it's over already. So that's great. Now her car is a Transformer and it turns into a Lambo. Some dumb things happen. So now the old guy, Cade, and Vivian are all here at his mansion or whatever. And this is when we get explained what is happening. So basically, the horn things, like in the desert that I showed in the beginning, is bringing Cybertron to Earth. But didn't this happen already? In the third one, right? Like, that was Sentinel's plan. To bring Cybertron to Earth to rebuild it. Right? Am I just wrong? Am I remembering wrong? But, like, that happened, right? Like, why is everything wrong? Well, the only thing that can stop this from happening is Vivian, because she is a defendant. The only one who could stop this is Vivian, because she's a descendant of Merlin, who, they need Merlin's staff to, like, plug in the hole so it just stops. That is what happens, yes. And also, Bumblebee fought in World War II. We get World War II flashbacks of the fucking Transformers. Yes, again, that is a sentence that I said in a Transformers review. Dumb action happens. Bad dialogue. Agent Simeon's cameo. Something about Pangea. I really don't care at this point. I've clocked out. I'm done. More chase. The two characters are on a sub. The old man can't come for some reason. Who cares? Bumblebee came along with. So, thank God that happened. Bad dialogue. More bad dialogue. The science guy is, like, freaking out. I'm just gonna fast forward it. It doesn't really fucking matter. They find, like, a big ship just, like, chilling in the water. And then they find Merlin's staff. Then the last hour is just a fight that really sucks. Optimus is here being a bad guy, and then he turns 12 seconds later. The aspect ratio just changes all over the fucking place. Nothing interesting is happening. And then the movie ends. Thank God. Transformers The Last Knight is really shitty. There's nothing enjoyable about this movie. This is where the series should end. But Hasbro was like, no, we're not going to end it here. We have 2 more movies to make. This movie is so shitty that I'm not even going to put it on the tier list. It is beyond F. It is, don't ever watch this. It's not even bad to where it's funny, like the 4th one was. It's just plain bad. And I still have 2 more movies to watch. Wish me luck, boys. And that's kind of all I have to say. So, goodbye.